Hello, I'm Sarah Davis from Integrated Treatment Services, and in this session I'm going to talk to you about the Talk Tools approach. This is an approach which we love here at Integrated Treatment Services. We have so many success stories for children with, say, speech sound difficulties and more significant difficulties like dyspraxia. Also for clients that have had a stroke, for example, and have lost some of the oral replacement skills and the strength around the jaw. We also use it for children with cerebral palsy and Down syndrome. We have great results in terms of children that haven't been able to sort of achieve tongue retraction. So they often have sort of very either drooly, very wet chins, or they have tongue protrusions. So that sometimes affects their intelligibility or their ability to feed particularly well. So really is a sort of an approach that we use with a range of different client groups and have so much success with it. The approach was developed by Sarah Rosenfield Johnson in the US, and despite all the UK controversy we have around oromotor therapy, this is an oral replacement therapy, and it's really important to remember that because it is very marked in its difference. So you would only be working on any of these activities if we're correlating it to a speech sound pattern or to an eating and drinking pattern. So we're not working on oral replacement or what we would know as oromotor skills for the sake of it. We're correlating it to a specific pattern that's used in speech or used in feeding. It's important to know that sort of the approach very much bases its foundation on the strength of the jaw. So looking at these called bite blocks, or jaw graders, you need to start to build the different jaw heights and stability of the jaw. So you'd be using these inside the mouth. And I won't go into a lot of detail about these today, but we will cover them in further sessions. But the foundations is that you really need good jaw stability in order to be able to make the other patterns that we need in speech or in feeding. So for example, if we were going to straw drink and you need some lip protrusion and some tongue retraction, okay, you can't do that unless you have good jaw stability. So you have to work on the jaw first in order to then be able to get the different patterns that we need in speech and in feeding. So for example, in blowing a horn, okay, this one has got a very spread lip pattern like an E. So when you're doing this, in order to get that oral replacement movement, again, you need to be able to have really good jaw stability. So the foundation is definitely working on the jaw first before going through the different hierarchies. All of the hierarchies are really graded, so you know exactly what you're doing as a therapist and as a parent or a teaching assistant in the programme at any one time. So for example, if you were doing something like lip closure, and we use these tongue depressors to be able to get in between the lips and count, you'd be counting to 15. Okay, and it's not until you get to 15 that you would move on then to the next one, which has got a 1 penny weight either side, and then two 2-penny weights either side, and then three 3-penny weights either side. So you have to do the 15 counts on each of them, and that can take weeks, it can take months for some clients to build up, but guaranteed once they build that strength, it's like weightlifting, so you're building on the foundations for them to be able to use those and generalise those movements across speech sounds and across eating and drinking patterns. There are specific tools, so there's tools such as this, tongue lateralization tools and elevation tools. So you would use the tongue, this would go inside the mouth, and you'd use the tongue to be able to lift this little ball bearing up and down. So again, when we're using things like different sounds like t, we need to get our tongue up behind our teeth. So again, these tools really help the child to know exactly where they're putting their articulators to be able to make the sounds that we need them to make. And you can show them very clearly if they're right or wrong, what it feels like. So the success criteria is really strong here, and children do experience success really quickly with some of these activities. There's things like the duration horn. So you put a ball in the end, and you're blowing to blow the ball out the end, so this will help with increased breath control. You can add these together and make them longer. That's going to help with speech in sentences and getting breath control for longer sentences. There's also things like a sensory part of this approach. So you would also, before going anywhere near the mouth, and often inside the mouth, you really need to establish the child or the adult's sensory tolerance. So you would be using things like the sensory bean bags, which have different textures. This one's scratchy, this one's soft like a teddy bear, and you'd be using them up the body, so in regular movements, and we often count in this approach, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're asking the client, is that okay or is that not okay? So you build a system to help know, is the sensory input that we're giving them okay or is it too much? Before we start to work on the face and we start to use other instruments such as things like the Z5 inside the mouth or around the face. So what I would say is watch out for more of our videos on Talk Tools. It really is a fascinating approach, and as I say, we really do achieve great outcomes using it. Look at our website, www.integratedtreatments.co.uk, and we share lots of resources as well as all the evidence-based materials on there, which will help you consider if this approach is right for you as a therapist in your therapy, and likewise if you're a parent or an adult wanting to use the therapy. Thanks for listening.